Just pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. When was the last time you truly thought about yourself? Not about work, not about the expectations others place on you. Just you, the real you, no one else. Maybe you've already forgotten what that feels like. The feeling of being yourself. The truth is, sometimes it's cruel. We've lived for so long for everything, everyone, every expectation, every responsibility except ourselves. In a world that never stops screaming, we keep running. The more we run, the more exhausted we become. And then, at some point, we suddenly realize we no longer know where we're going. But tell me this, when will you stop? How long do you plan to postpone your own life? Are you waiting for the perfect time? Until you're no longer busy? Until people no longer need you? The truth is, maybe you already know we're living in an era where the noise is not only deafening, but also invades the mind. News, social media, work, family expectations, invisible pressure. All of it like invisible strings pulling you further and further away from yourself. We've been led to believe that we must always be available, always busy, always multitasking to be considered successful. But that's not the truth. If you don't prioritize yourself, you'll become a bystander in your own life. A shadow, a supporting role in a script written by someone else. In this video, I will help you find your direction again. Not with fancy words or empty motivation, but with practical lessons from an ancient philosophy, Stoicism. You will learn how to keep your mind steady in chaos, when to say no, and most importantly, how to live for yourself. Because if you don't take charge of your life, someone else always will. The question is, are you ready to wake up right now? Or will you continue to sleep through a life designed by others? Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine, his name is Gabriel. No one really paid attention to him. He was like a shadow passing through other people's lives without leaving a trace. At work, Gabriel was the first to arrive and the last to leave. No one asked him to do it. He simply thought it was the right thing to do. Whenever someone needed help, he was there. One task, then another. An unexpected assignment, an urgent meeting. Gabriel, can you stay a bit longer? Of course. Gabriel, can you do this for me? No problem. He never complained, never refused. His boss appreciated his dedication. His co-workers saw him as kind and pleasant. But because of that, they began to see him as just another part of the system, like the office coffee machine, always there, always useful, but no one really notices it. Sadly, Gabriel's personal life wasn't any better. When his mother called, he dropped everything to answer. When his friends needed him, he was ready to cancel his plans. Always the first to show up, but never the first for himself. And so time passed. Not 1 year, not 2, but over 10 years, he never said no. Always, it's okay, no worries, I can do it. He lived to please everyone else and lost himself in the process. And then the cost came. Because when you constantly live for others, you gradually lose yourself. One day, in a meeting just like any other, Gabriel felt a sharp pain in his chest. He quietly rubbed it, trying to brush it off. It's probably just stress, he thought. But then the pain came back. Once, then again. Until one afternoon, while sitting at his desk, his vision blurred. Everything went dark. He woke up in the hospital. Diagnosis: extreme stress, chronic anxiety, physical and mental exhaustion. The doctor said bluntly, if he kept going like this, his body would completely collapse. It would force him to stop if his mind refused to listen. That was when Gabriel finally understood. He had existed for others for so long that he had forgotten a simple truth. He too deserved care, attention, and a life for himself. When he left the hospital, something inside him had changed. It wasn't some magical breakthrough, not an instant transformation, but it was a beginning. Gabriel stood in front of the mirror. For the first time in many years, he looked deep into his own eyes and asked himself, what if, instead of always being available for others, I was available for myself? That night, while scrolling online out of habit, he stopped on a video. Something made him pause. It wasn't a funny clip, not breaking news. It was a video about Stoicism, a topic he had never heard of before. He hit play. In the video, there was one line that froze him in place. A quote from Marcus Aurelius. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Gabriel was silent. He rewound the video and listened to that line again. This time, slower, more clearly. And strangely, he felt like those words were spoken directly to him, as if someone had finally put a hand on his shoulder and said, "It's time, Gabriel." And you know what? That moment was when Gabriel began the journey back to himself. Gabriel heard those words and finally decided to step out from the shadow he had lived in for so many years. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. That line didn't just stay in his mind, it became the starting point of a new journey. From that moment on, Gabriel began to re-examine everything he once believed. He used to think he only had value when he helped others, that his existence only had meaning if he gave his time, energy, and effort, never himself. He believed sacrifice was the right thing to do, that living a useful life meant living for others. But now it was different. Now he understood. His life didn't have to revolve around other people's expectations. He no longer wanted to be a shadow in someone else's story. He wanted to be the main character in his own life, and so Gabriel began applying the principles of Stoicism to his everyday life. These ancient ideas, which once seemed distant, turned out to be incredibly practical. But, as you can imagine, change was never easy. From the very first steps, he faced difficulties. The first time he said no to a request from his boss, the other person frowned, said nothing, but the look was clearly displeased. When Gabriel decided not to reply to work messages after hours, whispers began among co-workers. Some said he had changed. Others outright criticized him for being irresponsible. Even when he started spending time on himself, taking care of his health, learning to listen to his own needs, some still called him selfish. But for the first time in his life, Gabriel didn't care. Because now he had come to understand a truth that would forever change his life. If you don't make yourself a priority, you will always be just an option for everyone else except yourself. Today, Gabriel's life is very different. He still works, he still contributes, but he does so at his own pace. no longer rushing after endless deadlines, no longer living in fear of being judged every time he pauses to rest. He still helps others. He is still a kind person, but now he helps within his limits. He no longer sacrifices himself the way he used to. He has learned how to say yes to others without saying no to himself. And the surprising thing is, when he was truly at peace with himself, he realized he could give even more in a healthy way, without destroying himself in the process. You see, Gabriel's story is not an exception. It reflects thousands, even millions of people out there. People who have forgotten one fundamental truth: this life is theirs, not anyone else's. So I want to ask you, how many times have you said yes when deep down you wanted to say no? How many times have you put yourself last just because you were afraid of disappointing someone? And how many times have you told yourself, "It's okay, I'll think about myself next time"? But that next time never came. If these questions made your chest tighten for a moment, if Gabriel's story made you feel seen, then stay with me. Because in the next part of this video, we will break down the old mindset that has trapped you in an invisible cage for so many years. We will learn how to prioritize ourselves, not selfishly, but mindfully and responsibly. You will learn how to protect your mind from the chaos of the world, to take control of your life instead of letting life control you. Because, my friend, no one else will do that for you. No one. Before we move on, if this message is resonating with something inside you, hit the subscribe button and become an exclusive member of the channel. We share even more tools, methods, and stories to help you on your journey to becoming the best version of yourself. And don't forget to leave a comment below. Do you often prioritize yourself? Or do you always push your own needs aside? Or, if you don't know what to say, just type the words "stoic person" so we know you're still here with us. Now, take a look at your day. Imagine the morning. You've just woken up. Your eyes are still closed. Your head's still foggy. And what's the first thing you do? You reach for your phone. Notifications, messages, emails, TikTok, Instagram, recommended videos. A flood of content hits your mind in under 5 minutes. Before you've even had a chance to feel what's going on inside you, your brain is pulled into a meaningless swirl of information. 5 minutes, then 10, and then half an hour passes, and you don't even know what you just watched. A cat acting high, some celebrity drama, a cooking video you'll never try. And it's not just the morning. All day long, every time there's a moment of silence, you reach for your phone. When you eat, when you walk, when you go to the bathroom, even when you're standing in the elevator, you can't sit alone with yourself, not even for a moment. My friend, I know this might be hard to hear, but your mind is being hijacked. Your attention is like a cake. And the whole world is sitting around that table, each one holding a knife and fork. They're all trying to cut themselves a slice. Social media, ads, news, apps, all designed to keep you hooked for as long as possible. They don't care whether you have anything left for yourself. They don't want you to focus. They don't want you to have time to build something meaningful. They just want you to keep spinning in the cycle of consumption, distraction, and passivity. They want you tired, overwhelmed, and dependent. But you were not born to live like that. And Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, made this clear thousands of years ago. If someone tried to hand over your body to a stranger, you would be furious. So why do you so easily let others control your mind? That question is the starting point for the next part of the journey. The truth is, you have handed over your mind to anyone who walks by, allowing them to control it with ease. The saddest part is you don't even realize it because you think you're still in control. I'm still in control, you tell yourself. But let's be honest, when was the last time you went through an entire day without touching your phone? The last time you sat down to do something important without feeling the urge to check your notifications every 2 minutes? You probably don't even remember. The truth is, you are not in control. Social media, news, advertisements, apps are controlling you. While your attention is scattered in 1,000 directions, your life stands still, not moving forward. But don't be too hard on yourself. This is not entirely your fault. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman has explained this clearly. Dopamine, a neurotransmitter in the brain, is working against us. Every new notification, short video, or piece of junk information you consume triggers the same part of the brain activated in addiction. It makes you constantly crave instant gratification. Like any other addiction, dopamine takes away your control. The problem is that your brain has grown accustomed to quick rewards. The more immediate stimulation you receive, the harder it becomes to stay focused on tasks that require time and effort. Have you ever tried reading a book, working, or learning something new, only to find yourself checking your phone without realizing it? That's exactly how they steal your control in the most subtle, silent way. It's not that you lack discipline. It's that you've been trained to be unable to focus on what truly matters. So, do you want to change? Do you want to truly focus on yourself? If the answer is yes, then you have to start reclaiming your mind. It sounds difficult, but it's not as bad as you think. First, you need to build barriers for yourself. Start a small dopamine detox. I'm not telling you to throw your phone out the window, but make it work for you instead of working against you. Start by turning off unnecessary notifications. Use apps that block social media during certain hours of the day. Don't make excuses, like, I don't have a choice. There are plenty of free tools to help you do this. If you haven't used them, it probably means you don't truly want to change. Next, switch your mental state to airplane mode. Don't reach for your phone. The moment you wake up, or right before you go to bed, the first hour after waking up, and the last hour before sleep should be for you, not for algorithms or ads. Use that time for activities that move you closer to your real goals. Whether it's exercising, writing, planning, or learning something new. Finally, take back control with one very simple question, one that Stoics often ask themselves. Every time you're about to open an app or do something, pause and ask yourself, does this serve me, or is it just a distraction? If the answer is distraction, then you already know what you need to do next. Remember this, either you control yourself or you are being controlled. Focus is what separates successful people from those who merely dream. If you let the world occupy your mind, you'll remain stuck in your current life, unable to move forward. But if you reclaim control, if you master your attention, you will begin to live a life of your own choosing. Next, consider another reality that many of us easily overlook. you're wasting time without even realizing it. Be honest with me, my friend. In the past week, how many times have you told yourself, "I don't have time"? How many times have you convinced yourself that life is too busy to exercise, read, learn something new, or finally start that project you've been thinking about for so long? And then you opened TikTok just to watch for 5 minutes, only to realize an hour had passed filled with dancing dogs, mischievous cats, and nothing that moved you closer to your goals. How many times have you opened YouTube with no clear purpose, only to end up watching a documentary about some distant tribe that has absolutely nothing to do with your life? No, the problem isn't that you don't have time. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, once said that a person's life is like a river in constant flow. If you let it pass by without meaning, you will never get it back. That wasn't just poetic speech. Despite bearing the enormous responsibilities of ruling an empire, he still made time every day to write, reflect, and train his mind. He didn't waste a second on things that didn't add real value to life. To Marcus Aurelius, every day was an opportunity to grow, to live fully with himself. He understood a truth many people avoid. Time waits for no one, and it never comes back. And this is the harsh reality our society now faces. We are not Marcus Aurelius. A study from the University of California analyzed how workers manage their time and revealed an alarming fact. On average, people waste up to 3 hours a day on unnecessary distractions. 3 full hours every single day. So, where does all that time go? Certainly not toward meaningful, valuable pursuits. Instead, it's lost to the unconscious habit of checking phones, jumping from one browser tab to another, or getting sucked into pointless conversations. If you do the math, we waste over 1,000 precious hours a year without even realizing it. Just imagine within that time, you could learn a new language, read dozens of great books, or even build a business from scratch. But instead, many of us let time slip away unconsciously. And when we finally look back, we wonder why life hasn't changed. If you truly want to achieve something, if you want to change your life, you must reclaim control of your time and focus entirely on yourself. Now imagine you've decided to learn web design. You know this skill could open countless new opportunities, help you work independently, maybe even build your own business. You start full of motivation. You find a great course and sign up immediately. But then reality hits. You come home from work feeling exhausted. You think about studying, but decide to rest a little. You pick up your phone, watch a few aimless videos, and before you know it, the night is gone. And the course still untouched. Another day passes with no progress. This is when you need a real strategy, a practical way to stop wasting time and make the most of it. Before going to bed, write down the 3 most important tasks for the next day. Don't overload yourself with a long list, just 3 things. For example, watch the first lesson of the course, complete a practice exercise, and review some design examples. If you complete those 3 tasks, that day will have been worthwhile. When should you start your day? Don't fall into the trap of waiting for motivation to get to work. Try using the 5-minute rule. Open the course and tell yourself you'll just do it for 5 minutes. If you want to stop afterward, you can. But you already know once you start, it's very hard to stop right away. To avoid distractions, apply the Pomodoro method with a Stoic mindset. Work with deep focus for 25 minutes without interruption. Then take a 5-minute break. During your work session, absolutely no checking your phone or notifications. No, just one message. You are creating real, protected time to concentrate. And when you finish, you'll feel that you've made real progress. Not just that you've learned something new, but that you've taken a major step toward building your own future. After sharing ways to reclaim control of your life, I want to ask you a very simple question. Today, what will you invest your time in? Write it down in the comments below. From now on, what will you focus on to stop wasting this precious time? Share it with us, because we're all walking this path together, and that shared commitment can inspire us to go even further. And don't look away from the video, because the next part might completely change how you see everything around you. Imagine this. If you begin your journey of change today, 1 year from now, you will look back and thank yourself for the decision. But if you keep putting it off, then 1 year from now, you will still be standing in the same place. The choice is always in your hands. Now, let me tell you about a man. A classic story of persistence and absolute focus. In a small room, dimly lit by sunlight streaming through a window, the man worked in silence. He spent hours, days, perfecting every small detail of the painting he was creating. He wasn't in a hurry. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. Only he understood the importance of the work he was producing. Day after day, he added new layers of paint with obsessive precision. He studied light, anatomy, and the subtle movements of a smile that only someone truly passionate could recognize. While other artists eagerly presented their work to the world, he kept his project in complete secrecy. He wasn't looking for applause or praise before the time was right. His only concern was his craft. Weeks passed, then months, then even years, and after 4 years, the masterpiece was finally complete. A mysterious smile, a blurred background, a revolutionary technique. That man was none other than Leonardo da Vinci, and the work was the timeless Mona Lisa. He worked without distraction, without showing off, without needing anyone's approval. While others talked, he worked. While others sought recognition, he sought perfection. And what about you? Do you usually announce your plans right from the beginning, or do you quietly get to work? Surely, you've done this more than once. How many times have you excitedly declared a new project, a life change, or a goal you were determined to conquer? I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to learn how to invest. And then nothing happened. The months passed, and those plans remained just that, plans. But what if I told you that it's not a lack of discipline holding you back, but your own mind playing tricks on you? You heard that right. There's actually a scientific explanation for this. Every time you tell someone about your plans, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical that gives you the satisfying feeling of completing something. But here's the catch. When you only talk about what you're going to do, your brain is tricked into thinking you've already achieved it. The motivation starts to fade before you even begin. That's why so many people keep talking about their goals without ever making them real. They get satisfaction from the recognition, not from actual progress. But do you know who never fell into that trap? Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher. He taught, "Do not boast about what you plan to do. Work quietly and let your results speak for themselves." He lived by that philosophy. He did not seek external approval. He didn't rush to announce his intentions. He simply worked in silence and let his efforts prove everything. You decide that this time you're going to get in shape. You buy brand new gym gear, snap a few photos to mark the start of your transformation. Tell your friends about your plan. The warm encouragement fuels your excitement and fills you with motivation. But when the time comes to actually go to the gym, that motivation disappears like smoke. Your brain already got the dopamine reward just from talking about it. No real action needed. And it's not just with fitness. The same thing happens with any goal: learning a new language, starting a business, breaking a bad habit. When you talk too much about what you want to do, you're actually tricking yourself and unknowingly keeping yourself stuck in place. So, are you ready to let your results do the talking? The first step is to switch into stealth mode. Don't talk about what you're going to do. Instead, talk about what you have already done. Don't announce that you're going to write a book. Quietly write, and one day surprise everyone with a finished manuscript. Don't brag about how you're changing your body. Let them see it for themselves through the clear difference you've created. Next, create your own rewards. It's normal to crave motivation along the way, but instead of waiting for outside validation, find joy and satisfaction in your private wins. Celebrate internally each time you complete a disciplined week, or when you see small progress in your project. The satisfaction from real progress is worth far more than empty applause. Finally, take a minute to check in with yourself in front of the mirror. Before seeking recognition from the outside world, ask yourself, did I truly make progress today? If the answer is yes, you don't need anyone else to know it. If the answer is no, then the only thing you should do is act, not talk. My friend, in the end, there are only two paths: talking or doing. Stop telling the world about your plans. Focus on working hard, quietly improving yourself, and the results will speak for themselves. Now, think about the people you spend the most time with. Imagine your success in life depends 95% on the people you spend the most time around. That might sound extreme, but it's exactly what a Harvard University study confirmed. Your social circle is truly one of the biggest predictors of success in life. If you spend most of your time around people who only talk about negativity, weekly, drama, or complain about how unfair life is, it won't be long before you become a champion of pessimism and stagnation. This isn't magic, it's science. Our brains adapt their thinking patterns to what they are most exposed to. If you're constantly surrounded by people who never step outside their comfort zone, what do you think will happen to you? Seneca, the great Roman philosopher, understood this deeply. Imagine if he had lived among people who only partied, spent recklessly, and found every excuse to avoid intellectual growth. Could he have become the brilliant philosopher we remember today? Definitely not. The people around you will shape you for better or for worse. As speaker, Daniel Habib once said so simply and profoundly, "Surround yourself with spiritual giants, not mental dwarfs." And of course, I'm not talking about physical height, but about the stature of your intellect. Surrounding yourself with people who have a broader vision, ambition, and drive to grow will completely transform your life. These are the people who challenge you, inspire you, and push you to become better every day. On the other hand, if you spend most of your time around people with no goals, no curiosity, no desire to grow, it's like tying stones to your ankles and trying to swim upstream. You'll end up exhausted, discouraged, and going nowhere. Now, imagine this. You've made the decision to change your life. You've set clear goals, and you want to move forward. But every time you try to grow, your environment pulls you backward. You say you're starting to exercise, and they say, "Don't overdo it. Life's meant to be enjoyed." You talk about a new project, and they respond, "Don't get your hopes up. That stuff doesn't work." Slowly, their negativity seeps into your mind, and you start doubting yourself. But don't worry, this doesn't mean you have to ditch all your friends immediately. What you need is awareness. Understand who is influencing your life, and begin surrounding yourself with more positive influences. If you want to grow, start filtering your environment. Look around who inspires you, who pushes you, who helps you. Think beyond old limitations. Spend more time with them. If you don't have anyone like that right now, go out and find them. Join communities, attend events, connect with people who are already where you want to go. And if you can't meet them in person just yet, start by consuming their content books, podcasts, videos, or online courses. At the same time, learn to say no. No to commitments that drain your energy. No to pointless conversations. No to habits that pull you away from your goals. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't help you grow, you are saying no to your own progress. If you feel like you don't yet have a positive environment, then create a virtual circle for yourself. Surround yourself with the knowledge, mindset, and inspiration from the greatest minds in the world, even if you've never met them in person. Because when you fill your mind with big ideas, you will soon start to think big. Think about this. If you spend time around people who consistently go to the gym, sooner or later you'll get curious and start caring about your own health. If you hang out with entrepreneurs, you'll start picking up insights about business without even realizing it. If you're surrounded by people who read and learn regularly, you'll begin absorbing knowledge from them too. Your environment shapes your habits, and your habits shape your future. So ask yourself, are the people around you bringing you closer to the person you want to become, or pulling you further away from it? If they're not lifting you up, chances are they're dragging you down. Don't wait for others to change before you start focusing on yourself. Make yourself a priority and build a positive environment where you are constantly encouraged to move forward instead of staying stuck. You absolutely can do that, starting today. Now, I want you to imagine your mind as a desk. You need that desk to think, to create and to solve problems. But now imagine the desk is covered in clutter piles of papers, old bills, half-empty coffee mugs, outdated sticky notes. There's no space left to place your hands, let alone move freely. You try to find what you need, but it's buried under the chaos. and you feel overwhelmed before you even begin. That is exactly how your mind functions when it's overloaded with meaningless information. Every time you consume a piece of alarming news, a complaint on social media, or a pointless rumor, it's like dropping another scrap of paper onto your mental desk. The clutter grows, taking up all the space meant for clear thinking. Bam, another worry lands in your head that has nothing to do with your actual life. And then you wonder why you can't focus on what really matters. My friend, your mind right now is like a desk after a storm, and you don't even realize it. The problem is, you're not aware of how much noise you're letting into your head. You think keeping up with every political scandal, global crisis, or online drama is making you smarter or more informed. But be honest, is it really helping you? Or are you just overloading your brain with worries you can't solve while neglecting the one thing you can control, your own life? Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, understood this very well. He said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The richest person is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least." And this applies not just to material things, but also to your mind. The more unnecessary desires you accumulate, the more noise you create in your head. More noise there is, the less space you have to focus on yourself. Imagine waking up in the morning. Before you've had a single clear thought, your hand reaches for your phone. You open your first social media app and are instantly met with a heated political debate. You switch to Instagram and see someone flaunting their perfect life, while you haven't even made your bed. Then you scroll through news headlines filled with economic collapse, war, and distant crises that have nothing to do with your immediate life. You don't realize that all that negativity is piling up in your mind, making you anxious, frustrated, and feeling like the world outside is out of control. But the truth is, the only thing out of control is your focus. Because when you drown in that meaningless flood of information, you forget the most important thing, your own life. This happened to Matt D'Avella, a well-known content creator. He realized he was consuming too much news and that it was stealing the peace from his mind. So he decided to do something extreme. Spend an entire year without watching the news, TV, newspapers, or social media. Even his wife wasn't allowed to tell him any news. The results were surprising. His anxiety significantly decreased. His focus improved, and he had more time for himself and his projects. The most interesting thing was that, by the end of the experiment, he found that the truly important news always found its way to him. In his story of clearing the mind, Matt D'Avella didn't miss anything important at all. Now you understand, right? You don't have to be constantly connected or updated with every minute detail to live fully and consciously. So the question is, how do you start cleaning your mental desk and truly regain control? First, apply the 3-filter rule. Before you get upset or worried about something, ask yourself these 3 simple questions. Does this directly affect me? Can I do anything about it? Is it really important in my life? If the answer to all 3 is no, then let it go. Don't. Fill your mind with things that only drain your energy without adding value. In fact, many of our worries aren't even ours. They are imposed by an overstimulating environment that confuses and misleads us. Second, if you really want to regain focus, stop consuming news constantly. You don't need to know every political scandal or global disaster the moment it happens. Your mind isn't designed to absorb all the world's suffering without breaking down. And if something is truly important, trust me, you'll know. Third, surround yourself with quality information. Instead of stuffing your head with toxic news and trivial gossip, ask yourself, what more useful thing can I invest this time in? Maybe reading a book that teaches you something valuable, learning a new skill, or focusing on a personal project. Remember, a clear mind leads to a clear life. Now I want to ask you, how much mental clutter are you carrying? Because until you clean your mind, you won't be able to focus on the one thing that truly matters, that is yourself. 6. Is there something making you uncomfortable? If yes, congratulations, you're on the right path. Be honest with yourself. When was the last time you did something that truly made you uncomfortable? I'm not talking about switching to watch a new Netflix movie or trying a new dish. I mean doing things that push you out of your comfort zone. When was the last time you spoke in front of a crowd even though your hands were shaking? Or when was the last time you woke up at 5 a.m. to do something important? Have you ever faced something that scared you instead of running away? The truth is, if you don't do things that make you uncomfortable, you will never truly grow. Most people think discomfort is a signal to stop, like a road sign in the middle of the way. But in reality, it's a compass guiding your growth. Every moment of doubt, every obstacle, every stress is a sign that you are getting closer to something greater. If you've never felt uncomfortable, my friend, maybe it's not because you're on the right path, but because you haven't even started walking yet. And don't try to fool me. I know you've avoided discomfort too. How do I know? Because we all have. We choose safety, ease, and familiarity. We want change, but don't want to sacrifice. We want success, but don't want to work hard. We want to be strong, but fear facing. Resistance Epictetus would tell you right now. Don't expect things to get easier. Make yourself stronger. Stoicism sees discomfort not as punishment, but as the fire that forges resilience. Not to avoid challenges, but to face them with the certainty that every obstacle you overcome makes you tougher. The problem isn't that life is too hard. It's that you're waiting for everything to become easy before you start acting. But that will never happen. Look at the story of David Blaine, the famous magician. When he decided to break the world record for holding his breath underwater, he wasn't a superhero, nor did he have supernatural powers. He simply trained his body and mind to endure 17 minutes without oxygen. 17 minutes! Just hearing. That sounds insanely hard, right? Do you know what he did? Day after day, he pushed his body to the limit, learned to control panic, regulate his heartbeat, and endure what many people think is unbearable. Through extreme pain, he succeeded. Epictetus wasn't born with that ability, he trained for it. And you can absolutely do the same. Why? Because science proves it. Neuroscientist Wendy Suzuki explains clearly that when you face discomfort, your brain changes. New neural connections form. Brain circuits become stronger and more resilient, helping you become tougher. In other words, you are reprogramming yourself to become a better version of who you are. On the other hand, if you always avoid effort and choose the easy way, you're training your mind to give up before you even start. So, are you ready to turn discomfort into an advantage? Think about this. Every day, you have two choices: either do the same as always, or push yourself one step further and grow. Which path will you choose? Discomfort won't come knocking on your door, you have to seek it out. Wake up a little earlier. What's the worst that can happen? You just get more time for yourself instead of running in the busy daily grind. End your shower with cold water. Can you last 10 seconds? Trust me, you can. Read a page of a book in a foreign language, even if it frustrates you. And that message you hesitate to send it right now. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. What matters is that you stop running away from effort. Because the more you face discomfort, the stronger you become. Moreover, learn to distinguish between pain and growth. Giving up because of a tough challenge is not the same as stopping when something is truly harmful to you. The pain of effort is temporary, but the regret of never trying will follow you for life. And finally, be grateful for discomfort. I know, it's unpleasant, but it's very effective. When you feel uncomfortable, instead of complaining, think of it as a sign that you are on the right path. Replace your complaints with gratitude, because every obstacle you overcome makes you stronger. Don't see discomfort as the enemy. It is a signal that you are making progress. Every time you face it, you are choosing yourself, reinforcing discipline, and taking one more step towards the life you truly want. Now, I want to hear from you. Share in the comments the last time you did something that pushed you out of your comfort zone. Your story might inspire and connect us on this journey of personal growth. And now, listen carefully to this story. It might help you realize where you are investing your energy. There was an old man living in a small village, famous for his unshakable calm. No matter what happened, he never lost his composure. One day, a young man, frustrated with his life, decided to test him. He approached unexpectedly and started insulting the old man. "You're just a useless old man. Your words mean nothing, and people only listen to you because they have nothing better to do." The young man spoke angrily, hoping to see the old man lose his temper. But the old man didn't even flinch. He just looked at him with a slight smile and calmly asked, "If someone gives you a gift, but you don't accept it, who does the gift belong to?" The young man frowned, not fully understanding the trap, and answered, "Well, it still belongs to the giver." The old man nodded. "Exactly. And anger, jealousy, hatred are the same. If you don't accept them, they still belong to the person who brought them. I have more important things to focus my energy on." The young man was silent. He had never met anyone like that before. He used to think he had to react to every provocation, defend himself, fight back. But the old man remained calm, as if nothing had happened. This is the key, my friend. He didn't allow outside influences to control his mind. He didn't let others' anger become his own, because he understood what Marcus Aurelius said centuries ago. If something outside of you causes distress, it is not the thing itself that is the problem, but how you interpret it. An insult only has power if you choose to accept it. A negative comment only affects you if you let it in. and the energy you spend fighting others can be fully used to build yourself up. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you wasted time and energy on things that, if you're truthful, add nothing to your life? You argue with someone online over a post that isn't even yours. You get angry because a neighbor parked wrong, even though it doesn't affect you. You let a broken elevator ruin your whole day because you have to take the stairs, even though that little exercise might be good for you. And then, when it's time to focus on what truly matters, you have no energy left. Imagine your attention as a flashlight. Wherever you shine it, that's where your energy flows. If you spend your whole day shining it on small troubles, meaningless arguments, and pointless worries, you won't have any light left for what really matters. So, if you want to make yourself a priority, you have to start managing your energy for what it really is, a limited resource. Continuing the journey of energy and focus control, first try applying the 30-second rule. Before reacting to anything, pause, take a deep breath, and count to 30. During that time, ask yourself whether this is really worth your time and energy. If the answer is no, then keep living your life without getting caught up in unnecessary drama. Second, practice strategic indifference. Ignoring something is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of intelligence. Not everything deserves your reaction. If someone tries to provoke you or something bothers you, ask yourself, do I really need to get involved in this? Most of the time, the answer will be no. Third, learn to let go. If something won't matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. Stop and think about how many times you've worried over things you can't even remember a few days later. Life is too short to waste energy on unworthy things. Now, think about this. If your energy were cryptocurrency, what would you invest in today? Because if you keep spending your energy on arguments, complaints, or distractions, when it's time to focus on yourself, you'll have nothing left to use. Now, the 8th point, learn to be alone. Sounds scary, right? But what if I told you that this is the secret of the greatest minds in history? It's not complicated, nor does it require innate talent. Yet most people can't do it. Nikola Tesla understood this perfectly. More than just intelligence or creativity, his real secret was solitude. He spent hours immersed in deep reflection, undistracted, free from outside noise. And in those moments, some of his greatest ideas were born. Tesla knew for sure that the sharpest and most creative mind comes from uninterrupted solitude. So I ask you, when was the last time you were truly alone? I don't mean physically distant from others, but without distractions, no phone, no music, no filling every second with noise. The problem is most people don't know how to be alone. Worse, they run from it as if solitude will awaken a dark version of themselves. As if they are Dr. Jekyll, afraid that Mr. Hyde inside will rise. But the truth is, there's no monster inside you. Only parts of yourself you've tried to avoid, and maybe it's time to bring them into the light. Think about it. If you don't like being with yourself, how can you expect others to like you? What he means is, if you constantly need approval from others, can't stand silence and fear facing your own thoughts, then you are not truly free. You become a prisoner of distraction, and this is not an exaggeration. A study from the University of Virginia demonstrated this in a very harsh way. They gathered a group of people in a room and gave them two choices. Either stay alone in silence with their own thoughts for 15 minutes, or give themselves an electric shock. The results will shock you. Most people chose to shock themselves rather than be alone with their own mind. Sounds unbelievable, right? So let me ask you this. What would you choose? Really think carefully about this question. Today, loneliness is often stigmatized negatively. You walk into a restaurant and see someone eating alone. What does most society think? Poor thing, they probably have no friends. But what if that person is simply enjoying time with themselves, not needing approval or validation from anyone else? What if they feel complete without depending on anyone? Can you imagine that? If you don't learn how to be alone, you will never become your own priority. You will always wait for approval from others, waiting for messages, waiting for notifications, waiting for outside noise to fill the emptiness in your soul. The worst part is, the more you avoid loneliness, the more you fear facing it. So here is a challenge you can start today. Spend a whole day completely silent. Spend the entire day for yourself, allowing no distractions from outside. Turn off all notifications. Leave your headphones at home and go for a walk without your phone or anything that can distract you. If you've never tried this, be prepared. At first, you might feel very uncomfortable. And if you want to challenge yourself even more, do something alone. Go to the movies alone, sit at a cafe alone, or take a short trip without anyone accompanying you. Pay attention to your feelings in those moments. At first, you might feel awkward or lonely, but you know what? When you learn to be alone, you'll find it harder to be with others because you've grown used to the silence and freedom within your mind. If that feels too difficult, then it's time to ask yourself deep questions. Who am I when no one is watching? Am I satisfied with myself? Or do I just need constant noise to avoid facing my thoughts? Learning to be alone is not a punishment. It's a privilege. Because when you truly enjoy your own company, you no longer need approval from the outside. You no longer depend on noise to fill the gaps in your mind. And for the first time, you become the center of yourself. That's when you start building the life you truly want. So tell me, will you continue running from loneliness? Or will you use it as a foundation, become stronger, more focused and unstoppable? Moving on to point 9, train your mind. Do you know what happens if you stop exercising a muscle group? It weakens, loses strength, and becomes flabby. Now think about what happens if you stop exercising your mind. Exactly, it will be dominated by automatic thoughts, distractions, and negativity. Instead of being a tool that supports you, that mind will turn against you. Marcus Aurelius explained this better than anyone. Your mind adapts to what you think about most often. As your thoughts are, so your life will be. And he didn't just say this as empty theory. Marcus Aurelius applied it every day. While other emperors were swept away by anger, pride, or fear of power, he trained his mind like a warrior, sharpening a sword. Every morning, he wrote in his journal to reinforce the thoughts he wanted his mind to follow: patience, discipline, clarity. Before making any decision, he always asked himself, Am I acting on emotion or reason? And when the pressure of ruling a vast empire threatened to overwhelm him, Marcus Aurelius returned to the most fundamental truth. I can only control my own thoughts and actions, nothing else. He didn't wait for his mind to naturally become strong. He trained it day by day. And if even the most powerful emperor in the world, like Marcus Aurelius, had to train his mind every day, then why do you think you don't need to do that? I say this not to judge, but because I used to be the same. For a long time, others were always my number one priority. If someone needed help, I would drop everything I was doing to assist. Messages came in. I replied immediately, even in the middle of important work. I put others' needs above my own, and let me be honest with you, that made me exhausted. Now, I'm training my mind to focus more on myself. And honestly, it's not easy at all. I set small challenges for myself. For example, if my sister texts me while I'm focused on work, I don't reply immediately. I wait 10 minutes before responding, continuing my work without interruption. Don't think I don't feel the urge to check my phone or feel a bit guilty for not replying right away. But I remind myself that if I want to achieve my own goals, I have to be my own priority. Do you know what else I do? Before filling my schedule with helping others, I plan my day first. My goals are the most important. If something doesn't fit my plan, it gets cut out. I do this because I realized something very important. If you don't train your mind, you will lose focus. And because I don't want that to happen to you, I want to share a few useful tips. First, create a mantra to remind yourself that you are the number one priority. It can be as simple as "my time is valuable," or "if I don't take care of myself, no one else will." Write it down, then repeat it every morning. Make it your new automatic thought. Second, practice your ability to focus. Read a book without distraction, without checking your phone every 5 minutes. Write by hand, even if it's just one idea a day. Solve puzzles, play brain training games, anything that makes your mind focus on a single task. Third, start creating distance from constant demands from others. When someone asks you for something, don't reply immediately. Breathe, ask yourself, does this fit into my schedule? Or am I agreeing just out of habit? Think carefully about this. If you don't train your mind, society will do it for you. And I assure you, they're not doing it to help you unlock your potential. They do it so you can't focus on yourself. So, will you let others decide the direction of your life? Or will you turn your mind into your greatest strength? My friend, there is one thing that truly separates those who merely try from those who succeed: unwavering focus. If you want to put yourself first, don't lose focus on what's coming. And finally, point 10, take action. Think about it. Just act. The slogans you often see on t-shirts, ads, or sports shoes are not just empty marketing words. They are a way of life. Because the truth is, most people don't get what they want. Not because they lack talent or ability, but simply because they never start. So what are you waiting for? Act today. How many times have you promised yourself you'd start exercising, eat healthier, learn a new language, or launch a business? Then you keep waiting for the perfect moment, the day you feel ready, when everything naturally falls into place. But here's the hard truth. that moment will never come. Richard Branson, founder of Virgin, knows this very well. His #1 success rule is to say yes before you're ready. Because if you wait until everything is completely under control, you'll never do anything. He has jumped into projects many times without knowing how they'd turn out, and it was that willingness to dive in that became the key to success. Not perfection, but action. The Stoics understood this long before the productivity era was born. Epictetus didn't spend hours analyzing or planning what he wanted to do. He simply did it. That's why he left the clearest advice. Don't explain your dreams, just do them. Because talking about what you want to do, planning, analyzing, none of that moves you one step closer to success. Only action does. Imagine you want to learn guitar. You spend hours watching technique videos, comparing models, researching the best strings. But at the end of the day, how many times have you touched the guitar? How many times have you placed your fingers on the strings and made a sound? The number is 0. This is when Newton's law of inertia comes into play, and it makes perfect sense. Newton said an object at rest tends to stay at rest. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. The same applies to your mind. If you keep waiting until you feel ready, you will remain standing still. But when you take the first step clumsy or imperfect, everything becomes much easier to continue. So, if you're really determined to learn an instrument, what's the right approach from an action mindset? Less theory, more doing. Learn just enough to start, but stop searching for the perfect guide. If you want to learn guitar, instead of watching 5 hours of videos about choosing a guitar, buy one you can afford and start playing. You only have 15 minutes a day. That's plenty to learn a few chords and start practicing. And remember, no one starts as an expert. The greatest musicians started off playing badly. The best writers once wrote terrible drafts before creating masterpieces. The fastest athletes stumbled on their own feet. So what now? Don't wait for perfection. Start, even if you make mistakes. Because in the end, the only thing that truly matters is whether you do what you say. You can keep waiting, planning, and searching for the perfect moment. Or you can act now, working hard quietly. So tell me, will you keep waiting, or will you make it happen? Putting yourself first is not selfish. It is an act of responsibility. Because if you don't take control of your life, someone else will do it for you. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't delay yourself another second. Each day that passes is a new opportunity for you to focus on yourself. It's not a frantic race, but a journey of steady progress, silent and persistent. It's turning discipline and action into the most valuable investment of your life. With every small decision, every repeated effort, and every refusal of distractions that pull you off course. Life doesn't reward those who only think about it without acting. Life favors those who rise up, who work, and who move forward. If you've followed this far, take a moment to write in the comments, "I will only focus on myself." That will be my sign to know who the true Stoic warriors are, those who persist until the very end. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like this video so you won't miss the valuable content coming up. I also invite you to check out our playlist, which will appear right on your screen. It's full of ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click on it, and let's keep moving forward together. Thank you so much for listening and walking this journey with me. See you in the next video. Take care of your health and always nurture the Stoic spirit within you.